need to protect gay marriage. We need to protect queer parents. We need to understand that what we have gained has been hard won, but it can be easily lost.
Munroe, congratulations on Love and Rage.
Thank you so much. Did you love it?
I loved it because I've known you for years.
No.
So I was watching and thinking, I'm not going to learn anything new about Munroe. It's so personal.
Yeah, it really is.
How does it feel having that out in the world now?
A little scary. It is scary, but it's freeing also because I am a really private person and just wanted to let people in a little bit more in a way that I felt was useful. I don't really feel the need to do that with social media. And I also feel like it's something that you get kind of conned into of giving and giving and giving more and more personal stuff. The difference between documentary making and, social media is, you really get to explore it as an art form and show the wholeness of being a human. And I wanted to show the difficult parts, the vulnerable parts, the insecurities, the devastation, the joy. We really get it all in this documentary. So I'm really proud of it. And thank you to the director, Olivia Cavaccini, for pushing me there because I wouldn't have maybe felt safe enough with a different director. She really is incredible.
Can you talk about what Love and Rage means to you as a concept?
Well, it's the strapline of London Trans Pride, which is the biggest trans pride in the world. I'm really proud to be a Londoner. The UK, being British, but I'm really proud to be a Londoner. I think we're an incredible city, so diverse. It's a good place to be trans. It's probably one of the safest places in the UK to be trans at a time when transphobic hate crimes are rising year on year. And we've got a mayor that continuously champions our community. So shout out to Sadiq Khan.
Big up Sadiq Khan.
So Love and Rage means to me the love of our community and the rage of what we're fighting for. We've really seen 10 years of the community be bashed by media and politics. And now we're navigating a culture war that just feels hopeless a lot of the time, but our hope is in each other. My hope is really seeing, Pride become a lot more political and political parties now be banned from Pride because of what they have been complicit in. So I hope that we can all, recognize that our rights are not set in stone. We need to protect gay marriage. We need to protect queer parents. We need to understand that what we have gained has been hard won, but it can be easily lost.
Absolutely. I think your film and your personal journey in it encapsulates those feelings of love and rage. We should be angry. We have suffered, but what comes through most is queer love and joy.
Yeah, in all of its forms.
In all of its forms, for your pets.
Aww, little cameos.
So cute. Oh yeah, they're stars in their own right. I want to take you back to the opening of the film because it starts at your childhood.
Yes.
And you describe a childhood of hiding, of running away, of internalizing a huge amount of racism, of queer phobia, and shame, most importantly. Can you take us back? What was that time like for you, Munroe?
It was difficult. We were both raised during Section 28 years when you couldn't talk about being homophobically bullied because teachers couldn't promote homosexuality. So if you're saying that homophobic bullying is wrong, then you're kind of saying that, homophobia is wrong, i.e. promoting homosexuality in the eyes of the government at that time. So it was difficult for me to talk to my parents about being bullied because I didn't want to talk about being queer until I was about 16. I couldn't talk to my teachers and I was embarrassed by my peers knowing. So it just forced me into isolation. And I was raised in a very undiverse white area. I was the only black kid in my school at one point. My brother came and then he went. He went to a different school. So I was the only black kid in my entire school, in my entire secondary school. So when it came time to learn about racism, it was really a situation of wheeling out a television, putting on Armistad. And I was like, why are all of these black people on the boat? Because I hadn't heard I didn't know anything about slavery. And just all of the white kids just looking at me, just what's going on? And there was an open discussion. I've also just written a book called Talk to Me because I want people to talk to each other about these different things. I want, parents to talk to their kids more openly. I want us all to have open discussions. And I guess the trans conversation is both indicative of that inability for us to talk to people who are different to us. And also, when people that talk are very loud and wrong have a platform and it's not countered because, say with this UK Supreme Court ruling, we weren't in the room. So we need all of us in the room. We all need to live in this world together and find a solution rather than just wanting to be right.
Absolutely. I think the power of starting conversations really comes across in the film. There's a really, really moving part in it that I think will speak to so many people when you open up about experiencing abuse and violence when you were younger. How important was it to you to include that part of your story?
Yeah, I think it's important to identify where things can lead and that nothing happens in a vacuum. And if we're encouraging somebody to be ashamed of who they are, then the love that they will accept or the lack of love really results in situations of, accepting abuse or accepting what we don't deserve. And that is really what happened to me. And I was continuously told that I wasn't deserving of love or romantic love. So I accepted really abuse. And I was locked in that for a good half a decade. And then after that abusive relationship, I signed with L'Oreal and then had a little window of joy. And then it all kind of went a bit pear-shaped, but it's okay. We found our way back.
You did find your way back and triumphantly, but going back to that point in the film, it goes through all those clips of you on like Piers Morgan's show and stuff like that. At the time, I realized how bad it was. There's something about seeing them all next to each other.
Yeah.
You were so brave going on those shows. I mean, you shouldn't have had to go through that. What's it like seeing them in the film Love and Rage now?
Oh, I literally just want to reach into the screen and hug myself. It was actually quite healing in a weird way because living it was 10 times worse than watching it in that montage because, feeling it and, feeling just so misrepresented and, kind of willfully misunderstood was really heartbreaking. It was really tough. So I feel proud of myself that I got through it. But I also think it's really indicative of how far we've come because cut to 2020 after the murder of George Floyd and everybody was saying what I said and got sacked for. But I think that we are getting there, and I think it was a landmark moment in how we talk about race in pop culture anyway. It opened a discussion, and I think a lot of people didn't really understand that racism isn't just, calling each other names. It's a system of oppression that ultimately means that wealth is kept within primarily the white community, and that opportunities such as like work and housing and access to healthcare is really gate-kept and controlled, and hopefully it got people understanding racism in a more nuanced sense than just calling somebody a name, because yes, that's part of it, but it's not the entirety of it.
Absolutely. As a white person, I remember that moment, and you were speaking so clearly about how I, as a white person, benefit from white supremacy. And I think that was a light bulb moment for a lot of people. You shouldn't have had to be the one to deliver that message, especially in the way that you were made.
It's very much the sacrificial lamb moment.
I mean, really, but what I find amazing is you as a human being have you're like a zeitgeist in human form, because you were at the forefront of trans acceptance, then at the forefront of Black Lives Matter for many people, and then now in the culture wars and the rolling back of trans rights. How would you keep hold of your personhood, of Munroe as a human being, whilst also being a vessel for this cultural change?
I don't know. I've got a really full private life, and I, again, don't feel like I need to share my private life. It's for me, and I've got incredible friends. I've got an incredible partner, really understanding parents that I've been on a journey with who, they're not perfect. And I've come to understand and appreciate and give them grace as people who have been on a journey and want to understand me better, who didn't have any queer friends, who didn't have any trans friends growing up and have really learned on the job. And I, we forgive each other for like how we reacted out of pain. So I think I'm really just, focused on having a life that feels good for me and separating it from what I see as really service for my community. I want to live in a better world, and I've got a platform that I kind of inherited by accident. I just wanted to do my L'Oreal job. I I wanted to talk about acceptance and respect for the trans community. I didn't foresee any of this happening. And if I can use my platform in order to open conversations, then I think it's important that I do.
We see you going through a really interesting journey with your relationship with being an advocate for our community. And at one point, you really open up about the toll that it took on your mental health. How important was it for you to show that part, not just the glamour, but also the pain and the toll it was taking on you?
For me, it just felt like important to talk about it for context, because I haven't really talked about it. I don't really talk about that because it feels uncomfortable for me on social media. But again, I guess you can go into it in more detail in a documentary. I was really, going through it. It was really tough. At one point, my facial muscles weren't working properly because I had something called Bell's palsy from the stress, and like my hair was falling out and I wasn't really eating that well. I was really just kind of lapsing into older control habits that I developed as a teen. And I just felt really, really under it. I lost somebody that I really loved halfway through filming. And, going through the grief process is tough. You feel it all. You go through anger, kind of despair, sadness. And I went through all of the stages with the camera there. And you reach this point where you're like, do the cameras keep rolling? Or do you turn them off? And I think that's the importance of documentary filmmaking, is to keep them rolling and be honest and capture something that is real rather than controlled, and have it just be a film. Like, it isn't just a film, it's a documentation of 3 years in my life, but 3 years of also our story as a community.
Absolutely. So to look back to the beginning of our conversation when we talked about the shame that you internalized, the film is about your healing journey, but watching it as a viewer and as part of the queer community, I felt healed. And you reveal that the antidote to shame is connectivity and is community. Can you share a little bit about that realization?
I think connection is the antidote to a lot of things. I think it's the antidote to addiction. I think it's the antidote to escapism. I think it's the antidote to shame. I think the ability to feel seen and loved and heard is something that we should all have, and it's something that we all deserve, and it's something that we are, often denied, especially as queer people. So I hope that we can use this film as an opportunity to talk, and I hope people that don't understand trans people or don't know a trans person personally, or maybe have just, really invested in the wrong side of this conversation, like see it and are just like, I don't want to cause another person like stress or harm. I don't know if I know any trans people, but I would like to think of myself as somebody that is a safe place for somebody in a world where all of us are feeling less and less safe. And ultimately, the trans conversation is a gender conversation. We all have a gender identity, and we're all having a rough go of it right now, especially, the people that are most likely to take their own lives in the UK are men under the age of 40. And women are scared of, being attacked, of being targeted, catcalled. And it's just really down to all of us, if we're not going to get it from government, if we're not going to get it from media, to be a safe place for each other.
Well, Munroe, you have created a safe place in the film Munroe Bergdorf, Love and Rage, and witnessing your triumphs and your ascension has been incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jack.